I saw the tears welling in Sarah's eyes, right there in her graduation gown. And then Mark, my husband, leaned in and whispered, "I'm leaving you, Emma. What would you do?" The sun beat down on the stadium bleachers, baking everyone in celebratory cheer. Except me. All I felt was a cold, sinking dread. Sarah had just received her diploma, a culmination of years of hard work, and all I could think about was Mark's betrayal. 23 years. 23 years we'd built a life together. How could he do this? Here? "What did you say?" I managed, my voice barely a whisper. He didn't flinch. "You heard me. It's over, Emma. I'm done." His eyes scanned the crowd, avoiding mine. He was so calm, so detached, as if he were discussing the weather. Sarah beamed as she walked towards us, diploma clutched tightly. "Mom! Dad! I did it!" She threw her arms around me, oblivious to the seismic shift happening in my world. I plastered on a smile, forced a laugh. "We're so proud of you, sweetie." Mark offered a curt congratulations, and Sarah, thankfully, didn't notice the tension crackling between us. After the ceremony, we were supposed to have a celebratory dinner. Mark suggested a fancy restaurant downtown, the kind Sarah loved. Now, the thought of sharing a meal with him, pretending everything was normal, made my stomach churn. "I need to use the restroom," I said, pulling away from the crowd. I locked myself in a stall, my hands shaking as I pulled out my phone. I needed to tell someone, my best friend, Olivia. We'd been inseparable since kindergarten, but as I started typing, a wave of doubt washed over me. Could I really trust her? Mark and Olivia had always gotten along so well. Maybe a little too well? I deleted the message, the words unspoken, hanging heavy in the air. Instead, I texted Sarah's aunt, my sister, Emily. "Can you meet me for coffee tomorrow? Need to talk." Emily replied instantly. "Of course, Em. Anything wrong?" "I'll explain tomorrow," I wrote back, unable to bring myself to say the words, even in a text. The aroma of freshly brewed coffee did little to soothe my nerves. "Okay, spill," Emily said, stirring sugar into her latte. I took a deep breath and told her everything. Mark's announcement, my suspicions about Olivia, the overwhelming sense of dread that had consumed me. Emily's face hardened. That snake! I always knew there was something off about him. And Olivia? Unbelievable. "I don't know what to do, Em. I'm so lost." Tears welled in my eyes. "First," Emily said, reaching across the table to squeeze my hand, "you need to figure out what's going on. Why now? What does he want?" That's when I decided. I wouldn't let Mark walk all over me. I would find out the truth, no matter how painful it might be. I started with our finances. Mark had always handled the money, claiming I was too emotional to deal with investments and bills. I'd foolishly trusted him. That afternoon, I logged into our joint bank account. The statement flashed on the screen, and my blood ran cold. Large sums of money had been transferred out of our account over the past few months, moved to accounts I didn't recognize, shell corporations, offshore accounts. It was a complex web of financial deceit. "What are you doing?" Mark's voice startled me. He was standing in the doorway of my home office, his face flushed. "Just checking our account," I said, trying to sound casual. "Why?" he demanded. "Just being responsible," I replied, my heart pounding. He took a step closer, his eyes narrowed. "You don't need to worry about that. I take care of everything." "Apparently, you do," I retorted, unable to hold back any more. "What's going on, Mark? Where's the money going?" He stammered. It's complicated." "Complicated or criminal?" I challenged. He grabbed my arm, his grip tight. "Don't do this, Emma. You don't understand." I yanked my arm away. "No, Mark. You don't understand. I deserve the truth." He didn't say anything, just glared at me with cold, hard eyes. Then he turned and walked out of the house. Where was he going? What was he planning? That night, sleep evaded me. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Mark's face, his expression a mask of deceit. I tossed and turned, replaying our entire marriage in my head, searching for clues I'd missed, red flags I'd ignored. Around 3 a.m, my phone buzzed. An anonymous message. "Stop digging, Emma. You don't want to know what you'll find." Who sent it? Was it Mark or someone else involved in his scheme? I hadn't been actively involved in the day-to-day operations for years, focusing instead on raising Sarah. But I still owned 50% of the company. I walked through the glass doors and was greeted by a familiar face. David, our accountant, looked nervous. "Emma, what a surprise," he said, his voice strained. "Mark didn't mention you were coming in." "Just wanted to see how things are going," I said, trying to sound nonchalant. "Mind if I take a look at the books?" David hesitated, shifting uncomfortably. "Well, Mark usually handles that." "I'm an owner, David. I have a right to see the financials." He sighed, defeated. "Okay, fine. But I'm warning you, you might not like what you see." He led me to his office and pulled up the latest financial reports on his computer. As I scrolled through the numbers, my stomach dropped. The company was hemorrhaging money, fake invoices, inflated expenses, loans taken out without my knowledge. It was all there, laid out in black and white. Mark was systematically draining our business. But why? Then I saw it. A series of payments to a consulting firm called Ocean View Strategies. The address listed was a small apartment building downtown. And the contact person? Olivia, my best friend, my husband's lover. And now, my business partner's accomplice. The betrayal was almost too much to bear. That evening, I confronted Olivia. I found her at her apartment. A chic, modern space filled with expensive furniture. Mark's furniture, I suspected. "Olivia," I said, my voice trembling with anger. "We need to talk." She feigned surprise. "Emma, what are you doing here?" "Don't play coy with me, Olivia. I know about you and Mark. I know about the money." Her composure crumbled. "Emma, I can explain." "Explain what?" "How you could betray me like this. How you could sleep with my husband and steal from my family." Tears streamed down her face. "I never meant for things to go this far. It just happened. It just happened. Olivia, you've been planning this for months, years maybe. How could you?" she sobbed. "I was lonely, Emma. You were always so busy with Sarah, with your perfect life. I just wanted attention." "Attention? You stole my husband, my money, my life. Is that what you call attention?" "I'm sorry, Emma. I truly am." I wanted to scream, to hit her, to destroy everything in her perfectly curated apartment. But I didn't. I just stared at her, my heart aching with a pain I'd never known. "You're not sorry," I said quietly. "You're just sorry you got caught." I turned and walked away, leaving her standing there, alone in her web of lies. That I needed to protect myself and Sarah. Mark had left a trail of financial ruin, and I was determined to hold him accountable. My lawyer, a sharp, no-nonsense woman named Catherine, listened intently as I explained everything. The affair, the stolen money, the fake invoices. "We have a strong case, Emma," she said. "We can file for divorce, seek a restraining order, and pursue criminal charges for fraud." "I want him to pay for what he's done," I said, my voice filled with determination. "I want him to lose everything." Catherine nodded. "We'll do everything we can to make that happen." As the legal proceedings began, Mark became increasingly desperate. He called me incessantly, begging me to drop the charges, promising to make things right. "It was a mistake, Emma," he pleaded. "I didn't mean to hurt you. Just give me another chance." "Another chance? You betrayed me, Mark. You lied to me. You stole from me. How could I ever trust you again?" "I love you, Emma," he said, his voice cracking. "I always have." But I didn't believe him. His words were empty, hollow. He only loved himself and his own twisted desires. Then, one evening, as I was reviewing documents for the case, I found something unexpected. A hidden folder on Mark's computer, protected by a complex password. I spent hours trying to crack it, using every hacking tool I could find. Inside the folder, I found a series of encrypted files. I managed to decrypt one, and what I saw made my blood run cold. It was a detailed plan to liquidate our business, transfer all the assets to offshore accounts, and then disappear. He was going to leave me with nothing. But that wasn't the worst part. The plan also included a clause about Sarah. He was going to fight for custody, claiming I was an unfit mother, emotionally unstable. He was going to take her away from me. I felt a surge of rage unlike anything I'd ever experienced. He wasn't just trying to ruin me, he was trying to destroy my entire family. I had a choice to make. I could expose his plan to the authorities, let the legal system take its course. Or I could take matters into my own hands. I could ruin him, just like he was trying to ruin me. I thought about Sarah, about her future. I couldn't let Mark take her away from me. I couldn't let him get away with his crimes. I decided to fight fire with fire. Using my knowledge of his business and his personal life, I began to systematically dismantle his plan. I leaked information to the press, exposing his financial misdeeds. I contacted his business partners, revealing his betrayal. I even anonymously tipped off the IRS, triggering a full-scale audit of his finances. Within weeks, Mark's world began to crumble. His reputation was tarnished, his business was in ruins, and he was facing serious legal charges. He called me, desperate, pleading, "Emma, please, you're destroying me." "That's the point, Mark," I said, my voice cold. "You tried to destroy me, now it's my turn." As Mark's life spiraled out of control, I felt a sense of satisfaction. I had avenged myself, protected my daughter, and reclaimed my life. But as I watched him suffer, I couldn't help but wonder if I'd gone too far. Had I become the very thing I hated? Had I allowed revenge to consume me? One rainy afternoon, I received a call from Catherine, my lawyer. "Emma, we have a problem. Mark is offering a settlement. He's willing to give you everything, including full custody of Sarah, if you drop the criminal charges." I was stunned. It was exactly what I wanted, what I'd been fighting for. But something felt wrong. "What's the catch?" I asked. "He wants you to sign a non-disclosure agreement. You can never speak about his crimes, his affair, or anything that happened during our marriage." He wanted to silence me, to erase the past. I thought about it long and hard. I could take the settlement, secure my future and Sarah's, or I could continue the fight, risk losing everything, but ensure that Mark was held accountable for his actions. What would you do? I decided to meet Mark face to face. I found him at a seedy motel on the outskirts of town, a far cry from the luxury he'd once enjoyed. He looked haggard, defeated. "Emma," he said, his voice barely a whisper, "please, just sign the agreement. Let's end this." I stared at him, searching for any sign of remorse, any flicker of the man I once loved. But there was nothing there, just emptiness. "I'm not going to sign it, Mark," I said, my voice firm. "You need to pay for what you've done." His face twisted with anger. "You're going to ruin us both." "No, Mark," I replied. "You already did that." I walked away, leaving him alone in the motel room, facing the consequences of his actions. In the end, I chose justice over revenge. I let the legal system run its course, and Mark was convicted of fraud and sentenced to several years in prison. I also won full custody of Sarah, who was incredibly supportive through it all. It wasn't easy. The legal battles were long and grueling, and the emotional toll was immense. But I emerged from the ordeal stronger, wiser, and more determined than ever. I rebuilt my life, piece by piece. I relaunched our business, focusing on ethical and sustainable practices. I reconnected with old friends, and I even started dating again. It took a long time to heal, to forgive myself for trusting Mark, for not seeing the warning signs, but eventually, I learned to let go of the anger and the resentment. One evening, as I was sitting on my porch, watching the sunset, Sarah came outside and sat beside me. "Mom," she said, "I'm so proud of you." "Thanks, sweetie," I said, smiling. "You're the strongest person I know," she added. I hugged her tight. I just wanted to protect you, Sarah. That's all that mattered. You did, she said. And you taught me a valuable lesson. Never let anyone take advantage of you. Always stand up for what's right. I smiled. I had lost a husband, a friend, and a business. But I had gained something far more valuable. My self-respect. So what happened after? Well, my business thrived. And Sarah went on to do great things. We even travel the world together now. Every day I try to be a better person for myself and for my daughter. Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. It means choosing to move forward, to build a better future, free from the shackles of the past. How far are you willing to go to reclaim your life? If you enjoyed this story, please like, subscribe, and share it with your friends. And don't forget to comment below. What would you have done in my shoes? Write what you choose. One of the hardest parts was telling my parents. They'd always adored Mark, seen him as the golden boy who could do no wrong. I remember sitting at their kitchen table, the same table where I'd done my homework as a child, the same table where Mark had asked my father for my hand in marriage. The irony was almost unbearable. He cheated on me, Mom, I choked out, the words feeling like shards of glass in my throat. My mother's face crumpled. Mark? No, Emma, there must be some mistake. I showed her the evidence, the bank statements, the emails, the photos Olivia had foolishly sent to Mark. My father, usually so stoic, looked like he'd been punched in the gut. He didn't say a word, just stared blankly at the wall. I'm so sorry, honey, my mother said. We had no idea, my father. He'll pay for this, Emma. I promise you. Despite their initial disbelief, my parents rallied behind me. They offered emotional support, financial assistance, and endless cups of tea. They were a constant reminder that even in my darkest hour, I wasn't alone. A few months after the trial ended, I received a letter. It was postmarked from a prison in another state. It was from Mark. I almost threw it away, but curiosity got the better of me. I opened it with trembling hands. Inside, the handwriting was shaky, almost illegible. He rambled about regret, about lost opportunities, about the pain he'd caused. He claimed he was a changed man, but the letter wasn't an apology, it was a plea. He begged me to visit him, to give him a chance to explain. He claimed he had information that could change everything. Could I forgive him enough to listen? Did I even want to? I crumpled the letter in my fist, tears streaming down my face. What would you do? I couldn't decide. Part of me wanted to ignore him, to erase him from my life completely. But another part of me, a small, fragile part, wondered if he was telling the truth. What if he did have information that could change everything? I talked to Catherine, my lawyer, about the letter. She advised me to stay away from him. He's manipulative, Emma. He'll try to use you. But I couldn't shake the feeling that I needed to know what he had to say. Against Catherine's advice, I decided to visit Mark in prison. The prison was a bleak, imposing structure, surrounded by barbed wire and guard towers. As I walked through the metal detectors and waited in the sterile visiting room, my heart pounded in my chest. When Mark, he was gaunt, pale, and his eyes were haunted. He looked like a shell of the man I once knew. Emma, he said, his voice raspy. Thank you for coming. I sat down across from him. A thick plexiglass barrier separating us. What do you want, Mark? He took a deep breath. I know who sent the anonymous message. My blood ran cold. What are you talking about? The message you received. The one telling you to stop digging. Who sent it? I demanded. He hesitated. Olivia, he said. She was working with someone else, someone who benefited from my crimes. Who? I pressed. He shook his head. I can't tell you. They'll hurt me. Who, Mark? Tell me. I can't. Just be careful, Emma. They're dangerous. The guard signaled that our time was up. I stood up, my mind racing. I don't believe you, Mark, I said. You're just trying to manipulate me. He looked at me, his eyes filled with desperation. Please, Emma, trust me, just this once. I walked out of the visiting room, leaving Mark behind. Was he telling the truth? Was Olivia working with someone else? And if so, who? That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying Mark's words in my head, trying to make sense of them. Olivia, working with someone else. Who could it be? Someone who benefited from Mark's crimes. The more I thought about it, the more a name kept popping into my head. David, our accountant. He had access to all the financial records. He knew everything about Mark's scheme, and he'd always seemed a little too eager to please. Could David have been involved? I decided to investigate. It was a small, unassuming building hidden on a side street downtown. I parked my car across the street and watched the building for hours. I saw David arrive in the morning, looking as nervous as ever. He didn't leave all day. As darkness fell, I decided to take a chance. I walked across the street and entered the building. The lobby was deserted. I found David's office and quietly let myself in. The office was dimly lit, cluttered with papers and files. I started searching, looking for anything that could link David to Mark's scheme. After hours of searching, I found something, a hidden file on David's computer containing encrypted messages. I managed to decrypt one of them. It was a message from Olivia. Everything is going according to plan. Mark is transferring the funds. Soon, we'll be rich. It was proof. Olivia and David were working together, but who else was involved? I kept searching, hoping to find more clues. Then, I heard a noise behind me. I turned around and saw David standing in the doorway, his face pale. "What are you doing here, Emma?" he asked, his voice trembling. "I know about you, David," I said. "I know about you and Olivia, and I know about the money." He didn't say anything, just stared at me with wide, panicked eyes. "Who else is involved, David?" I demanded. "No one," he said. "It was just me and Olivia." I didn't believe him. "You're lying, David. Who else?" He took a step closer, his eyes narrowed. "Get out of here, Emma. You don't want to get involved in this." "Involved in what, David? Murder?" He flinched. "What are you talking about?" "I know you're hiding something, David, and I'm going to find out what it is." He lunged at me, grabbing my arm. "Get out!" I screamed and shoved him away. He stumbled backwards, knocking over a lamp. The office plunged into darkness. I ran out of the office, my heart pounding in my chest. I didn't know what David was capable of, but I knew I was in danger. I had to get out of there. As I ran down the street, I heard footsteps behind me. Someone was chasing me. I didn't look back, just kept running as fast as I could.